Hey there folks, welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at something that's very special to me, something I'm very excited for. It is the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin by SH.Figuarts from specifically Spider-Man No Way Home. This is a guy that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. I just haven't been able to bite the bullet on it. But luckily, I found this guy on Amazon for only $90 some. So I saved about $60, $70, if I were to have bought it on Big Bad Toy Store, it would have been about $170, something like that. But there you can see all the poses and all the information on the box, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way. I do think that's a very cool piece of artwork, though. As far as the figure goes, here he is in the clamshell packaging. Very, very cool. I do have some of the accessories missing. They're sitting right here, the hands and stuff, so we'll take a look at that. But without further ado, let's bust this guy out of the packaging. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the smaller accessories first. First up, we have a little pumpkin bomb. Very cool. I would have liked to have seen, zoom in. I would have liked to have seen a better glowing effect. A little bit more of an orangey color. It's not super accurate to what we see in Spider-Man 1. If it's accurate to No Way Home, that's cool and all. Here is the retracted and extended version of the blades that you can replace on his forearms. You got a little bit of bronzish gold painting on there, which is pretty cool. I'm assuming these come from the glider. That would make the most sense. They're a little bit, actually these ones are a little bit more pliable than what's on the glider, so that's cool. But yeah, maybe missing a little bit of blood from Toby. That would have been cool. You get a unmasked, or ungoggled head, I should say. Here is the ungoggled head, and you can see that it definitely looks like Willem Dafoe, but it's a little heavy-handed on the paint, in my opinion. He kind of looks like he's wearing makeup, and he's got blue eyes, which I'm positive that's not the case. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't have big, bright blue eyes. And then there's a weird streak of gray. I think these heads could have been really, really good if they were painted properly, but unfortunately, they're a little bit weird. Here is the interchangeable accessory for the hood being up, and you can see that that fits right in there. It looks good. So cool beans right there. The interchangeable parts are the goggle head, I don't know, and then the hood down piece, which will show how that kind of removes later on. As far as the hands go, you get a pair of fisted hands, which are very nice. Asymmetrical bomb holding hands. They're a little bit different. These kind of weird splayed out hands, which can also kind of hold the bomb in a unique grip. And then these glider balancing hands, which are cool. And these are also a little bit different. Or actually, you know what? These are the same. So there's that. Some cool paint work on here. Next up for the accessories is the glider. Now the glider is a very cool piece right here. I like it a bunch. However, I'm not a huge fan of the design. Well, I like the design on its own. However, it's just not accurate to Spider-Man 1 at all. That's one of my bigger gripes with No Way Home, is it just makes a lot of unnecessary changes to things that don't need to be changed. However, like, his suit changing through the movie is okay. He's not wearing the mask, even though I prefer him to. He's not wearing the mask because he broke it. He's got Doc Ock's goggles somehow. Okay, he stole them from Doc Ock, and he got these pieces from the glider, or whatever, the hoodies from when he was pretending to be homeless, all that stuff. It all makes sense. That's cool. But why is his glider completely different? And then, like, Doc Ock, he looks nothing like he did in Spider-Man 2 for a couple of different reasons, but things like that just bother me. And then, like, Electro's a whole nother can of worms. But this glider is just completely different for no reason. And, like, okay, when you're watching the movie, you can't really tell, so that's fine, but it's just annoying, because I personally really like the design of the original glider. It almost has, like, this curve like a bat. Like the bat, whatever. Like, if you look at the bottom of Batman's cape, and it kind of almost looks like Goblin's mask. And I'll show a picture so you can understand what I'm talking about. Or at least it reminds me of it, for whatever reason. But the detail on this is pretty cool. The paintwork is clean and nice and all, but I think it could have used some dirt, some grime, some ash, something like that, because this was being used in a fire, and also like it was around when like walls were being broken and stuff like that. I would like to see just a little bit more realism on the paintwork, but as far as the sculpt and the ingenuity, I really like it. These are a little bit brittle. Be careful of those. They're not very pliable. And this functions a lot like the Toy Biz one, where it has these moving pieces, which is accurate to the film. And then these swivel and hinge, which is a little bit scary because there's no peg holes in this figure, or on this glider. So when you put the figure's feet in there, you're relying on balance and friction. So when you start to try to articulate this guy and get him to do something, and his feet can't stay in there, and he's resting, the figure's heavier than the glider. And when it's resting on this little piece that can move and swivel and all that, it's a little bit scary. I would have preferred some pegs, that way this could, you know, properly go in there. I mean, I guess you could kind of get the glider in this position and then get the figure into a close position and then lock it in. Something like that. I don't know. It's also just kind of a nature of this design. It doesn't really matter. Like the Hot Toys is going to have something similar to this too. And of course, the figure is going to be heavier than the glider, I would imagine. So it's just kind of the nature of it. I would prefer it to be, or I would rather it to be accurate like this instead of not be able to move at all. So, you know, that is something to consider. As far as the figure goes, I really like the design that they went with here. It's very close to the original film with a couple of minor differences that are a little random, like his, you know, feet, his boots not being the same Nikes, which makes sense. It's trademark stuff. The shape of his shoulder pads are a little bit different, and the overall ingenuity of the suit's a little bit different, which is not a huge deal. But I like the... I don't know why it's doing that. I like the addition of the hoodie. You know, the different purple elements from the glider and the satchel and the belt and all that to make it look more comic accurate is really cool. I like the idea of that for the most part. Why is it doing this? All right, sorry about that. It was acting a little bit weird. But yeah, I like the idea of this a lot, and I've seen the practical version of the suit, which looks really cool. I would have preferred, or no, not prefer, I would have also liked to have seen them use a practical suit for the original, the damaged version of the suit, instead of just using full CGI. But I understand, you know, expensive movie, whatever. It just, you know, we see him in it for a decent portion there, and it looks a little rough. Has that floating head syndrome. But as far as this goes, it looks pretty accurate. My complaint with it is very similar to that of the glider, where, you know, this is all battle damage. He's patching up the suit, you know. He's armoring it up because it got damaged, and pieces got torn off and ripped. So I would like the paintwork to reflect that. I would like to see some grit, some grime, some ash. They were going through drywall and brick at the apartment building, so it would be nice if the figure reflected that. That's, you know, just my opinion. The belt is missing a lot of detail, like the buckle here and some weathering and some washing. Something like that would really bring the detail out. The overall stature of the figure, he's kind of a little brolic, if you ask me. Green Goblin isn't very big in the comics, and especially like compared to Toby in the first film, he's not very big. And the figure that SH.Figuarts did is pretty slim compared to this guy. And a lot of that, you know, the plastic hoodie doesn't help, but it is noticeable. At least if you have the Mafex one, this one's been altered in the shoulders and the lats, but if you have this one, it's a little bit more comparable in size, so it's not a huge deal, but it is something to consider. As far as the hoodie, you know, hood getting swapped out, you can just pull it out. Like, that's pretty cool. I like to leave that on there. You can take the whole neck piece off and do all that if you want to, and, you know, put it on all at once with the head and neck. But you can also just slide it in. It's not in there all the way, but there you go. Pretty simple. I like that a lot. Do I think that there's some things missing from this figure? I do. I think that they should have given us a smiling, laughing head. I don't know which one I would prefer to be the laughing one. I think the ungoggled head would be better to have like a sinister grin or a laughing head. And this one can be more stern. I think I prefer that. And then also it would be nice to see them include a masked head as well, like Marvel Legends did. And I think also the Hot Toys did it as well, unless people are just using the head from the undamaged version. But yeah, I would like a laughing head and a masked head as well. Well, not as well. I would prefer this to just be a masked or a laughing head. So yeah, I think it's kind of funny that this one's the one that doesn't come with the mask, but it has a full neck. And the Marvel Legends one comes with a mask, but it has the half neck. So when you have the mask on that one, it looks a little bit weird. But yeah, I think overall the details on this guy are pretty cool. I'm pleased with it for the most part. One of the things I'm a little bit more unhappy with are the points of articulation. So that's something we're going to take a look at here in a second. But just giving a quick overview of everything. So like right here, add some paint work to that, man. Come on. For $160, $170, it's definitely necessary. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. As far as the articulation goes, you get a joint in the neck, the base of the neck, and the head. So with those two combined, you can get him to look forward about this far, down that far, get some rotation, and all kinds of attitude. So that's pretty nice. And if you take this out, I suppose if you wanted to do that, you can get a little bit more in there. So that's not too bad. It's not super noticeable. The shoulders, the shoulder pad is on a ball joint, which is pretty cool. So with your butterfly joint and all that, you can get the arms to move up this far. You can get a whole lot of shifting in there, so that's pretty cool. And of course, you get your rotation. So all kinds of shifting and nice movement in there. Get a bicep swivel, double jointed knees, or elbows work out well enough. You get a ball joint for the wrist, so you can get that in any sort of configuration that you'd like. Get a joint at the base of the abs here and the diaphragm. So with those two combined, you can get them to look forward or crunch forward that much, which isn't a whole lot. And then back is serviceable, and you can get some slight rotation out of the base and then a little bit more out of the top. It's not a whole lot. And then of course you get some leaning back and forth. The legs, you can get the legs to move out this far. They can go forward that far, back that far, and get a thigh swivel. Oh, that's all stuck. Get your thigh swivel. Double jointed knees aren't a huge range of movement there, which is unfortunate. And then you get a ball joint for the ankles. You can get that in any sort of configuration. And then get your toy joint. So the articulation is pretty standard. It's very similar to what they do with the Spider-Man figures. It's set up very similar to that, apart from the shoulder pads. It's a little different from a Spider-Man figure. This dude has, you know, he has all the right points. He just can't really do what I want him to do. And this is the second time I've recorded this video, so I don't remember if I've already mentioned this or not, but like Willem Dafoe can get pretty deep, a pretty deep crouch on that glider. Very accurate to comic Goblin, and that's what I want this figure to be able to do, and he's not super capable of doing everything that I want him to do, so I can definitely see myself trying to improve some of the articulation in the future and make it so he can get into some more Goblin-like poses. But I mean, outside of him being able to get a really deep crouch on the glider, his articulation is pretty serviceable, and it works out well enough, I think. I think it'll be serviceable for pretty much everybody else for most people. So it's not too bad. But with all that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some size comparisons. Arguably, the most important size comparison here is the first one with the SH.Figuarts Toby on the left and the Mafex Toby on the right. As I said before, the Mafex Toby has had some adjustments to make the shoulders and the overall size look a little bit wider. So he's a little bit different, but of course his height is not. I think between these guys, the Green Goblin figure looks best with the Mafex, just because it makes him a little bit closer in size, although I do, like I said before, I do think that this Green Goblin figure is just a little bit beefy. I prefer him to be a little bit scrawnier. I kind of like Green Goblin to have that effect, and also it's just accurate to Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. So, moving on. Alrighty, here he is compared to the SH.Figuarts Integrated Suit version 2 Spidey on the left. This is a custom version, so it's got a little bit of paintwork, and then on the right is a Hasbro Spider-Man Trilogy Anniversary Superposable Spider-Man figure. Here he is compared to a couple of figures that are in the works. On the left is a Marvel Legends Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and on the right is on the left is a Spider-Man 1 Superposable Spider-Man, and on the right is the custom Marvel Legends Tobey. Here he is compared to my custom Marvel Legends Matt Murdock and the Marvel Legends Kingpin. And for your last size comparison, here is compared to one of the few Doc Ock figures that I have. I do have the modern Marvel Legends Spider-Man 2 Doc Ock, but it is currently being worked on. I have a couple of these Toy Biz ones that I'm using to make an ultimate Doc Ock figure. So stay tuned for that. But there's the Doc Ock. So yeah, guys, closing thoughts. I think this dude is really, really solid. I think that it could be better given the price point, but if you're able to get it on sale like I did, closer to the price of a regular import figure, then I think it's definitely worth it. I would have liked to have seen a sturdier attachment, a sturdier way to attach the figure to the glider, some better articulation in the legs to get them deeper on the crouch, and then also some more paintwork, better painted heads, some more paintwork, and also I would have liked to have seen a smiling head, like I'd said. I think that's a lot of people's complaint. The Goblin mask is kind of take it or leave it. It's not really accurate to the suit anyway, so I can understand why that wasn't included. But those other things I think are necessary and necessities for most people. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I definitely am happy to have this guy in the collection, especially for the discount that I got him on. If you guys are able to pick it up on Amazon, go ahead and do it. It's like $90-some right now, so go ahead and jump on it while you still can. And of course, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell, all that would be greatly appreciated if you decide to do so. And of course, until next time, true believers.